Hello. Okay. I'm fine. How are you? Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Uh, as you have seen, I'm Lagat Emmanuel. I'm a Laravel developer. Also do Vue.js. For now, I can say that's the stack I'm more proficient in right now. Uh, yeah, right. Okay. Maybe I can share my screen without. I'm unable to share from my side. Maybe. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can see it's now possible. Okay. Um. So let me go to my presentation. I prepared a little guiding for this topic. So about route model binding. Mm, so basically, it's a feature that allows you to automatically inject model instances into your controller. So I'm sure. Okay, so let me just go through this. Then maybe I can explain more better, showing it with while coding it. So this can simplify your code and make it easier to maintain. We'll see about that later. So for example, this one, there's a route for users. Yeah, you are getting a user, and you can see you have added a user inside those curly braces. Um, and then this function will return a user. So this user, let me just go to the code. So wait a minute. So let me just go through it. Let me just explain it using the code so you can understand better. I hope you can see my screen clearly. Okay, so I prepared a random data of users. Let me just check the database. Yeah, this one. Just prepared a random data of users for this for testing purposes. As you can see, there are 10 users here. So we'll be querying these users based on maybe ID, name, or any parameter here, maybe even the username. So normally, what we normally do, so we have the route here. Which normally I'm sure most of the people you always see something like this, users, and you are searching user ID. So and then in the controller, you normally see something like this. I'm sure this is more normal for all the users when you are starting maybe with this thing. So basically what this do, you will find a user with that ID and then return the user. So I'll be testing it with my browser like this one. And as you can see, I have searched for the user with ID of 3. Wait, let it. Okay, just a bit. It's kind of slow. Okay, so as you can see, when I search the user ID of, let's say 5 or 6, that user will be returned. As you can see from the database, user of 6 is that one Rolly Royson, which is the same here. So what we will now be doing today is we want to see another way you can do this and maybe eliminate most of this, maybe this find or fail, and make it more simpler. So let's just go into it directly. Okay, so I have this extension which which makes it easier for me. Okay, so what we have done here, we have created a function and then injected this model user with this what should I call this? So basically, what this will do, whenever you add it's same with this one. So now we will have to change. This will be ID. Okay, just a minute. We'll use it will be user. Just a minute. I just got lost a little bit. Okay, so as you can see, before that, we were finding the user manually here. As you can see, find or fail the user with that ID. So here, what will happen is that Laravel will automatically search that user for you. And now you'll have to change this. Instead of using ID here, you will have to use user. So normally there are two types of this route model binding. The first one is implicit and the other one is explicit. This one, which we are doing right now, is implicit. In implicit, you have to use this parameter this route parameter which you will use here should be the same as on your controller. It should be the same as this. What should I call it? Is this a variable or it's not a variable? Is it dependency or what? So it should be same with this one. So if you decided to use, let's say maybe just any name, that name you should be the same as the one you will use um, as your route parameter here, right here. So if you use maybe user and then maybe you use another name here, it won't work for implicit route binding. Okay, so let me just use the user. Okay, since I'm using the API web route, I'm gonna have to clear the cache for every new, since I made some changes on them. Just a minute. Okay, so when you refresh this, it will still work. Okay, we have an error. Let me check what's wrong. I guess I should use the. Let me just optimize it so it will recache this. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, it's still working the way it was. So what happens here is that the Laravel will check the route parameter which you passed it here, and now check the model which you are using here. Then fetches that user directly for you, so you don't have to find it manually like the way we were doing previously, using the find or fail or using the find, or maybe even using the where's ID is the same as this ID. So as you can see, this is more simpler and it's help you save, make your code more clean and yeah. And then there is maybe so here the primary key that Laravel uses for you here is the ID. So right now, let's try to see how you can maybe use maybe name, username, or maybe email, or any other parameter that you may want to use. Maybe is this the slug or what? Yeah, just any other column you maybe you want to use to maybe to query the database, the users, or any other table that you have. So let's say let's use the username. If you want to maybe use a username instead of the ID, which normally is the primary which is being used here, you just add a column, then that table name, the column name you want to use. So for our case right now, we want to use the username. So let me just optimize to create a new cache. So if we refresh this right now, you won't be able to see any results because I'm sure there is no user with a username of 6. So let's take for example this user with this username of that name. If we use it here, we will be able to get that user. Yeah. Maybe you want to use this one. Yeah, it's still working. The other thing that you may want to do right here is maybe you want to change you want to change this name to be different with this one, the one you will be using right here. So that will be now the explicit route model. So we are done with the implicit, whereby you have seen that then the parameter should be the name, should be same with this variable right here, this dependency which we used here. So for the explicit route model binding, this was for the implicit. Let's just go through this. So it's the simplest road model binding if you have seen. And it works by assuming that a road model name matches the name of the associated model variable in the controller method. Yeah, if you have seen how we have used it, a user and a user model. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, let's now go to the explicit road model binding. So let me just show you how it works, then we can come and go through this later. So for explicit, you have seen, we may want to change this name just to be different with the one maybe we can use here, or maybe we just want to maybe customize how data is returned from that model you are querying. So here you will have to use the road service provider. Is it? Yeah. And then on the public function of boot, just at the top, you're gonna add this road model. Okay, just like that user. So whatever you are going to use, this is this one, the first parameter right here is the route parameter, and then the next one is the model class you want to query. Maybe you have post any products or any other, but right now we are using the user model. So let's say you want to maybe, I don't know what name we can use right here, but let's say in a scenario maybe you just want to use a different name right here. Okay, let me just call it a user so that maybe you can see how it works. And on your route, you're gonna have to add that the same way, the same name route parameter you have used right here, which should be the same with the one you used right here. And this one you can just leave it the way it is. So this name is not a must now to be the same with the route parameter. And this should still work the same. Okay, here we're gonna have to use the ID instead of the username. Yeah, as you can see, it's working fine. So it's returning that object of users of that user you are fetching. And the other thing, maybe, is there any other thing? So that was for the explicit route model binding. So that allows you to specify the model class that should be bound to the route parameter. Yeah, and explicit, and you are using it. You are using the route model method. If you have shown you right here on the route service provider class. So explicit road model binding can be useful in a number of situations, such as when you need to bind a custom model class to a route parameter. And when you need to bind a route parameter to a model class that is defined in the same namespace as the controller. And also when you need to customize the way Laravel resolve that model instance. So okay, I didn't go so deep on the explicit because I normally don't use it so much, but I was seeing you can also maybe, okay, let me just not go to that because I don't have so much information. I saw maybe you can, something like that, so for those who have used repositories, maybe you can just specify what should be returned right here, but that was I didn't see it a necessity for that because you can just still use the implicit because it's simpler and it's easy and it can still use cover keys. So that was all I had for the route model binding. If you have any question, you can ask. Yeah, you can just send it to the chat, then I can see. Yeah. Okay. So I can stop sharing. Okay.
I'm good. I'm good, Collins. How are you? Yeah. Thank you very much, Collins. My name is Joseph Murgor. I am dev, obviously. Been doing this for the last 10 years. I work with a company called Mobdev. Mobdev is a software consulting company based here in Nairobi. Uh, we've been we've worked on so many projects uh, here in Kenya, uh, Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, Zambia. We've worked on projects also from the US, so there's quite a large portfolio. Yeah, so thank you for giving me this opportunity to go through one of the topics. Uh, so a post on Twitter, and I decided to just join. I think this is a noble cause. It will help more developers to be conversant with this. Yeah, so I'll just go through one topic uh, that I think was assigned to me, and that was middlewares, and specifically custom middlewares. So when it comes to, let me just share my screen so that let's just save on time. Yeah, so let me just, so you'll allow me to just, I think I have an issue with my Collins. Uh, let me just, it's telling me to just quit and come back. Let me just quit and come back right quick. I think my Yeah. Uh, can you guys? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah. So can you guys see my screen? Yeah. So I think it's a simple thing. I didn't even have a presentation for this. I just wanted to introduce what a middleware is. So a middleware is some, as defined by Laravel, is a some acts as a filter between when an HTTP filter that is that comes in just before as a request comes in, it does its own thing and then allows that request to continue. So it's like a gate. So when you are entering a building, let's say you have to go through security, right? And then you have to show your credentials. The credentials is like that checking of your credentials is like a middleware in this case. Yeah. So it's it's, it's as portrayed in this image. So I'll just switch on directly to my editor so that I can go through as fast as I can. I'll just give one use case of one scenario that I've used before, and that is something to do with webhooks. I think webhooks, most of these payment systems, even Safaricom, when sometimes when they'll ask you for that callback URL. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, or even these payment platforms where they'll send you instant payment notification saying, okay, the payment that you had processed before is successful, and now this is the payload. Yeah. So they usually, with the challenge with that is people usually pass URLs, right? You just give out a normal URL. Let me just uh, go to my browser. So sorry. Mm, So probably you find that, I think if you guys can see it, like you have a URL, and so when they tell you to give a callback, a webhook or a callback, you sometimes pass a URL like this. And then you find that most guys do not do that. So yes, you can't see my screen. Oh, sorry. Let me just go back. This is outrageous. Let me reshare again.
Oh, and the chat section is not available, so if you can enable it.
Can you see my visual? Okay, okay. So let me just do a bit of, yeah. So these are a simple project. So you find that when people give out a callback URL to Safaricom, you find that someone is doing something like this: payment slash receiver, and this is what they give out to Safaricom, right? Something like this for IPNs. I don't know if everyone is familiar. So it's usually that callback URL. So the challenge with that is that now allows, if someone gets access to that callback URL, everyone can send requests to this, and you will be receiving and you will be processing. So you'll find that any person will send let's say, or so will send a callback to something like this, right? So you give and anyone will be receiving this, and if anyone gets access, they will be just sending you request, and you'll be processing it, because no one is, you are not doing any validation, right? Because you're just receiving it. So that is where now a custom middleware comes in. So what that means is you just go to creating a middleware. So normal creation of a middleware is PHP artisan make middleware and then the name of the middleware. In this case, for me, I'll call mine webhook check, right? So what this will do is we'll create a middleware over here, like that. So to avoid this problem of open middleware, what you should be doing is if you give out a webhook to Safaricom or to any other payment provider, you should add something like this, a token. This can be a random thing you can generate on your side and then give it to Safaricom, right? So Safaricom will be sending your post with this token. So you, after you've done that, you need to check, like for example, in your middleware now, check if you have this token, right? So if you don't have this token, you reject that request. So in this case, I created a webhook with a handle function, and I checked if this is specified, right? It's specified in this case, like you have this token. Normally, this way you check on the database when you are generating. Normally, I'll have another function on somewhere else to generate a full callback with the token and store it in the database. So this check usually has check into that in the database, right? So and the check and what that will check if this token that has been passed here is in the database, right? So if it's in the database, it goes ahead. If it refuses, it doesn't. So I'll just demonstrate that. If it's in the database, I'll pass a token. So on the request that I'll give out to either the third party, I'll add this token, and then check it on the URL on the middleware, and then pass. It will show that it is granted. So you can continue doing your logic. So this is the logic of the webhook. So to make sure it works, you have to put it on that specific route. So you do realize that for these routes that are unprotected, you don't have authentication, you have to put a CRSF token. That's another middleware. So you have to put this kind of webhook, this URL, so that it can be exempted from CRSF. So that's the first thing. And now it becomes an open route, which will come with its own challenges. That's why we are adding this kind of middlewares to check. So when you put middleware, so you add a middleware function and pass the name of the webhook. So you can do it in several ways on the route. You can explicitly define the class, say webhook checker, and pass the class directly, and it will be loaded from up there. Or you can register it on a kernel, which I'll just open right now. So you put an alias on a kernel for this now for us webhook checker, points to that webhook, and then you use it on the routes. And that's the case of the second one here, right? Yeah. So you pass it as a it will take these parameters webhook. This function can take an array of classes, or can just take an array. Can check a list of one or many. right? So when you pass that, when so this will check. So the middleware will check the webhook will run as a will first run the request via this webhook checker, and if it fails, like for example in this case when I add something else like two, it denies it. The reason, so that is quite will help you in at least processing requests that you don't know where they come from. So if you get anything to this URL without the token, you will be rejecting it immediately. Because remember, this webhook, this middleware will always, if it goes through, will always hit your controller. So your controller will have something like, so you start writing logic here. This is the logic that you will have here. But now with the middleware, it will first check if the token has been passed and it is valid, right? So that's for webhook checker. You can do many other checks here. Uh, and this can really help at least to prevent requests that so that to prevent requests that are unwanted from processing. It's not that you'll not receive the requests. Of course, if that URL gets to the wrong hands, people will DDoS you. But at least for now, when you have someone providing the token, you can still reject. You can reject a request. So meaning you'll save on your CPU, you'll save on your DB, because beyond here, you'll start writing logic and you probably end up adding it to your DB, right? So that's for that one custom middleware. The next thing, you can do as many custom middlewares as possible. Like for this one, I've created a middleware that checks the IP. So in the same case on here, we checked if same case on the checker, you check if the token was passed. I've created another one called webhook logger, which uh, check if the IP that you are receiving the request from is in a list. So in this case again, when you give out your callback URL, you'd want to know at least which IPs will you be receiving requests from. So if it's Stripe, you know the IP, you can check. If it's Safaricom, you'll know. If it's any other third party, so this acts as at least a filter. So when you receive a request, when a request comes in, it's filtered here. And when that you check on the list, of course, this will be something that you store in a DB. I just cut shortcuts here. So check if that IP that you have received right now with this parameter is in this collection. If it's there, you log. So this is another thing that can help you. So if you want to log all the requests that are coming in without really, and you don't want to do it here on the controller, because most guys will do it here. So you put here and then say, okay, let me log first, and then now continue. So you can do that on the middleware, so it can save you a bit of tidiness here because you are logging all the requests that are coming. If you provide an IP or just your IP is not here, like for example, come here with 11 and then try to send the request here, it will be saying access denied, IP not in the list. So I returned a JSON saying their access is denied. Yeah, so maybe something else that I've not talked about, the logic. If let's say, for example, for this case, if the IP is in this allows now the request to be sent to the controller in this case. So this next request passes the request to the next. As you can see, the custom middleware received the request and then a closure which goes to the next. So closure in this case is a function that forwards that request to in this case the controller. Yeah. So that's a custom, another custom middleware. So I go back here. You can pass two custom middlewares on one route, right? So what that means is you can pass as many as you can to act like a chain, although it's not guaranteed that which one comes first. But now you have now, in this case for us, you have a custom middleware to check it has a token, and the next one that has if it's part of an IP. You can combine both, but it's good to just have one separation of concern in this case. Yeah, so you can do that, or you can register them. Let me just, sorry. You can register them to be one, just one. How do you do that? You group them on the kernel. So on the kernel over here, you can just come and say webhook and then register all your webhooks. I think an example here is the one that we are seeing here is for web. Web has a whole lot of middlewares here. So they have encrypt cookies, add queue to cookies to respond, start session. So all this happens before the request hits the controller or any other. If it's the console, it's something. So in this case, API has total request and then substitute binding. So our case now, webhook, we have added those two. And the only and if you have done that, you can just pass it as one here. That's how web does it. If you've used middlewares that has web, they group it and then pass it here. Yep. So I've gone so fast so that I can save time. Anyone with any questions? Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah,
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. So thank you. Yeah, yeah. I've been in many sessions. So I'm Kembo Elvis. I'm a Laravel View developer, and also I major on Laravel and also JavaScript frameworks like Vue and Next. So actually, for what I had in store for presentation, I think time is about to elapse. It's already 9. So I don't know if you can keep it for next week. Yeah, yeah. So I was to talk on how we create PHP packages and Laravel packages to make your developer experience smoother. So that's what we'll be basing on next week on creating packages for PHP. Yeah. So, and also you can post your Twitter handles so that you can follow each other for later discussions. So, and also I wanted to request Joseph Murgor, if we can host you for another session to take us on M-Pesa integration, if that it's okay with you.
That's fine. I can take you through that.
Yeah. Also, you can rate your Twitter handles there. You can follow each other. If anyone has a question, you can ask right now. If you have a question for Joseph and Lagat, you can ask now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still here. Oh, that was the one for auto completion or what? So, or which one? Oh, it's GitHub Copilot. Yeah, for you use your student email if you have one, you will get it free. But normally for normal users, you have to pay for it. But it's free for students. So if you have a student email, or you can just borrow one from a friend and use it. Yeah. You install the extension. Yeah.